I genuinely can't recall the last time the PGA Tour felt this charged with tensions surrounding the world's top-ranked player. Today, we're not dealing with just one major headline rocking the golf landscape. We've got two significant developments. And what's fascinating is how closely they're linked, both revolving around one of the most productive and successful player-caddy relationships we've witnessed in recent years. What unfolded during that decisive final round in Miami had golf enthusiasts buzzing across the globe. The visible body language, the mounting irritation, the raw reactions. It was clear that something wasn't quite right. Now, with more details emerging from behind the curtain, many within the PGA Tour community are beginning to ask whether we're witnessing the early stages of a major shift just ahead of the season's most critical stretch. The wildest aspect is that one of these narratives is already sparking heated discussions among fans, yet the second could dramatically alter the trajectory of the entire PGA Tour campaign if it materializes. So if you're a dedicated follower who tunes into professional golf week after week, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and help us hit our first 10,000 subscribers. Because if these whispers evolve into actual events, the sport could take on a very different shape over the coming months. Let's begin with the drama at the Miami Championship, which delivered one of those uncommon instances where we saw Scottie Scheffler visibly lose his trademark poise on the course. And if you've been following Scheffler closely in recent seasons, you understand just how out of character that really was. This is a competitor who has forged his reputation on maintaining ice-cold composure no matter the circumstances. Even in tough moments, he typically keeps that steady demeanor, consistent rhythm, and focused intensity. Yet on that Sunday at Donald Trump's famous Blue Monster layout in Miami, you could sense the irritation building and eventually spilling over. Scheffler entered the final round carrying significant weight after posting runner-up finishes in consecutive high-stakes tournaments. First came the heartbreaking playoff loss to Matt Fitzpatrick at the RBC Heritage. Then Rory McIlroy edged him out at the Masters. And now in Miami, he was forced to stand by once again as another player claimed victory while he settled for second place. This time it was Cameron Young who seized control of the event from start to finish, and full credit to him, his performance was outstanding throughout the week. Young closed at 19 under par, pulling 6 shots clear of Scheffler, and it rarely felt like a genuine contest down the stretch. What impressed me most was how bold and self-assured Young appeared, especially on the most demanding holes. The pressure seemed non-existent for him, and even Scheffler acknowledged afterward that he was genuinely stunned by the quality of golf Young produced. Scheffler mentioned he had long admired Cameron's talent, and on this particular occasion, the young star delivered exceptional drives and pinpoint iron approaches, particularly on the course's toughest tests. He also highlighted how remarkable Young's putting was over the opening 27 holes, describing it as if the ball was dropping into the cup no matter what. And Scheffler was spot on. Young looked completely dialed in from the very first hole to the last. But while Cameron Young was putting on a masterclass, Scheffler was wrestling with a very different internal battle, growing frustration. The incident that has everyone still talking occurred on the 9th hole in the final round. Scheffler faced what appeared to be a straightforward tap-in for par, the kind of putt the #1 player in the world makes routinely. Instead, he misjudged the break, missed by a tiny margin, and walked away with a bogey. Immediately afterward, the cameras captured Scheffler turning straight to his longtime caddy Ted Scott and unleashing his pent-up dissatisfaction. He was clearly expressing strong displeasure about the read and the guidance he received beforehand. The Sky Sports broadcast team captured the moment perfectly. One commentator observed that Scheffler had just about reached his limit with those tricky greens and was running out of solutions. Another remark that stood out was the lighthearted comment that Ted Scott's ears might be ringing by the end of the round. Now, some supporters might be blowing that exchange out of proportion, since passionate moments between players and their caddies are fairly common in elite golf, particularly when a leader is being hunted on a Sunday afternoon. However, what really amplified the story was the second piece of news that began spreading almost right after the tournament wrapped up. Fresh reports and well-placed insider accounts suggest that Scottie Scheffler may be seriously contemplating ending his partnership with Ted Scott. Should that occur, it would instantly rank among the biggest storylines of the PGA Tour season. This isn't some ordinary player-caddy duo we're discussing. Ted Scott has been alongside Scheffler since 2021. In that time, they've constructed one of the most formidable runs in contemporary golf, stacking multiple tour victories, major championship triumphs, the world #1 ranking, FedEx Cup triumphs, and Ryder Cup participation. They've formed one of the most reliable and effective teams in the game. That's precisely why these rumors have sent ripples of surprise through the entire community. According to sources familiar with the situation, the discontent had apparently been simmering beneath the surface for some time. Insiders indicate Scheffler has grown increasingly dissatisfied with certain tactical choices during high-pressure scenarios, particularly more cautious club selections and conservative course management when trying to close the gap on leaders late in events. One person close to the matter even suggested Scheffler feels like an element is lacking at the moment. He's craving a fresh perspective, renewed vitality, and a collaborator who's prepared to urge him toward bolder decisions under intense pressure. Of course, it's crucial to note that neither Scheffler nor Ted Scott has publicly confirmed any breakup. This remains firmly in the realm of speculation and reported rumors for now. Yet even the mere prospect has created noticeable shockwaves across the PGA Tour. A top-tier caddy contributes far beyond simply carrying the golf bag. Ted Scott has been instrumental in club choices, green reading, emotional support, strategic planning, managing momentum, adjusting for wind conditions, and countless small but decisive calls that often determine outcomes. For a player like Scottie Scheffler, maintaining rhythm and flow is absolutely vital. His remarkable consistency is what elevated him to the pinnacle of the sport. Switching caddies right before the heart of the major championship season would represent an enormous risk. Some experts believe a change could unleash a more attacking, dynamic side of Scheffler's game. Perhaps a new voice that encourages him to hunt flags more aggressively, embrace calculated risks, and display greater urgency on final round Sundays. On the other hand, many observers worry it could disrupt his performance in the near term, since building that deep chemistry and trust between golfer and caddy isn't something that develops instantly, especially at the absolute highest level. This situation really highlights how the mental demands of being world number one can start to weigh heavily. When you're Scottie Scheffler, finishing second starts to feel like a setback, even though the vast majority of tour players would celebrate those results. That's the incredibly high bar he has set for himself. After the losses to Rory at the Masters, to Fitzpatrick at the Heritage, and then seeing Cameron Young take charge in Miami, it's possible those accumulated disappointments finally began to surface emotionally. Throughout the PGA Tour locker rooms, fellow competitors are monitoring this situation with keen interest. Some believe the relentless pressure may finally be taking a toll on Scheffler. Others view it as a potential wake-up call that could spark an even more formidable version of the world number one as the majors approach. But one fact remains crystal clear. If Scottie Scheffler and Ted Scott do part ways, it would reshape the entire narrative of this PGA Tour season. The game's most reliable performer would suddenly head into the year's premier events carrying uncertainty about the most critical relationship in his professional life. And for fans, that's exactly what makes this unfolding story so captivating. We're potentially seeing a pivotal chapter develop in real time. Either Scheffler regains his mental footing, works through these challenges, and returns stronger than ever, or this marks the start of larger difficulties during the most consequential phase of the year. Whichever path it takes, the spotlight and expectations surrounding the world number one have rarely felt more intense than they do at this moment. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Scottie should continue his successful partnership with Ted Scott, or could bringing in a new caddy actually provide the spark he needs to recapture top form ahead of the upcoming majors? If you found this analysis valuable, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and help us grow toward that 10,000 subscriber milestone. This channel is still building, and if you appreciate straightforward, genuine discussions about the PGA Tour from passionate golf fans, you found the perfect spot.